Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for coming. Peace be upon you all. Tonight the Islamic Society is actually really proud to have invited one of the world's leading historians on Islamic history. Our speaker today is a polyglot. He's fluent in 6 different languages. He's lectured all over the world and he's given a tour around the UK currently, and he's here with us today. He's appeared on television many times, he's published many books, and we're actually very lucky to have him today. So could you all please put your hands together?
Thank you. Wait first, wait. I would say wait until the end, right? If you're happy and satisfied, right? You're going to start. Now, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Do not worry, it's going to be in English. This is just a dua to start with, okay? One thing. Second, I worry. Do you speak English, everybody here? Because on my way, I could not read the signs. And I saw a strange language. And I was informed that there is a language here which is called Cornish. And there are around 300 people who speak this language. This is correct. So, but you do all speak English, right? Thanks. You try. Okay. That's good. Thank you very much. That's excellent. Okay, it makes my life easier, hopefully. Now, first of all, the topic for today. Now, what is the topic today? We're talking about Islam in Europe, the Islamic civilization in Europe, Islamic culture in Europe, and what have the Muslims actually done for us? This question, since Monday, on Monday I was in Leicester, on Tuesday I was in, what was it on Tuesday? Loughborough University, Tuesday somewhere else. Yesterday I was in Exeter, and it always brings, the audience brings it back to that topic. Okay, whatever you discuss, especially what's happening around us, it always brings it back to what have the Muslims done for us here in Europe. Britain is part of Europe, by the way, for the ones who don't know it yet, geographically. So now, what have the Muslims done for us, and why is it important to know something about Islamic civilization? And why is Islamic civilization important for Europe? Any idea? And I want to tell you one thing, please, do not make me talk 1 hour, 1.5, fall asleep, and then wake up to ask me questions. No, that's not the way I work. I want you to participate, I want you to ask me questions, I want you to interrupt me, okay? Don't think it's rude, to the contrary, I want you to interrupt me, I want you to question what I'm saying, and I want you to come with proof if you question me. So, please, okay? We start again. So why do you think is Islamic civilization important? Is it important for Europe? Is this topic important? Islamic culture, Islamic civilization. Why? We're in Europe, it's a Christian continent, isn't it?
Yeah, but many Muslims are here.
Sorry?
Many Muslims are living here in the area.
Okay, but you know, I haven't seen a lot here today. I mean, yes, there are some in this lecture theatre. I'm very happy, by the way, I assume that there are some non-Muslims here. By the way, are there some non-Muslims? Excellent, oh my goodness. You know, normally, this is the Islam Awareness Week, guys. Oh, I love this city already. The point of Islam Awareness Week is exactly that, 50-50. We should have some Muslims and non-Muslims here. Some Muslims who need to know a little bit more, obviously, and some non-Muslims who need to find out what's actually really happening. So, I'm really happy to have you here, really welcome. So again, because you say there are some Muslims living in Europe, yes, there are some Muslims living in Europe. Indeed, yes, okay. So, these Muslims are immigrant Muslims, right? You know, some Pakistanis, Indians, some Afghanis, right? Okay. Now, unfortunately, I will have to disappoint you there. I'm not Pakistani, and I'm not Afghani. I'm double European. Okay. I'm Greek and German, and I've accepted Islam in 1992. And since that time, that means more than 20 years, right? Since that time, I have seen quite some people around me, British, German, Swiss, French, who embraced Islam, especially after September 11. Quite some. So now, the issue again, is Islam part of Europe?
It was a stepping stone to Europe.
In what way?
A lot of European history is based on Islamic science.
Is it? No. Ancient Greece, just a moment please. Hey, as a Greek now I have to step in and say no. The absolute not true. The root of European civilization is ancient Greece. So especially Minoan culture, like where my mother comes from, you know, Crete and Santorini, that used to be the center of Minoan civilization. After Minoan civilization, the Mycenaean civilization. We're talking about Greek civilization. Without Greek civilization, we would not have Europe the way it is. So where are the Muslims at? Come on, honestly now.
I'm not, you tell me.
Well, yes.
I think even without the presence of Muslims in Western society, you can see that Muslims, especially after the Middle Ages, there was an effect of the Muslims in the socio-economic sense, in the sense that our society is now, even as I said, without the presence of Muslims, you can see the effects that the Muslim culture has brought to the Western society.
Example.
Educations and in terms of education, for example, or your modern day algebra, or your modern day chemistry. Some of it has stemmed from, you say, Iraq or the Middle East, and even in art as well, especially in art.
Really?
I think some parts of southern Spain have had major architecture as well.
Spain, you mean like Madrid?
Andalus and
Oh, Andalus, what's that?
so as far as the southern parts of Spain, there's a lot of influence from Muslims through the Middle Ages, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anybody else? Thank you. We heard something very strange, Andalus, certain parts of Spain, right? Now, you have heard something, right? We have heard something in the last couple of years, maybe decade, something about Spain and Muslims and Islam, but what do we really know? What the brother just mentioned, that's exactly what we all think we know. We know a little bit something, right? A little bit like something here, something there, patch here, patch there. We have all gone through history lessons at school, but what have they really taught us at school? Okay? What have we really been taught, and what did we get from school with us? What do we really know nowadays? By the way, what are the three core subjects, not only in this country, but especially in this country? What are the three core subjects?
English, maths and science.
English, maths and science. Do you hear history? No. Why not? Question mark. Why not? I don't know. I don't know. So history is not important, is it? History is not important because it's not a core subject. You don't need to know history. This is correct. We don't need to know history. It's not important, is it, for our life, for our daily life? If you go to the shop, you need mathematics. When you go and buy something, you need to know how to count the change and everything. So why do you need history?
To learn from others,
To learn from?
from the previous nations.
Okay. Then there is another sad saying, history repeats itself. So have we learned until now? Do we learn from history? You're absolutely right. That's what we should do. We should learn from history. We should. And there are very many famous quotes actually from many important and famous people who have said exactly this. But the problem is they all come to the same result. Have we really learned something? No. History repeats itself, and you know what? I come from Germany. I grew up in Germany. And we were taught about the atrocities that were committed, like the Holocaust and everything that happened in Germany during the Second World War. And we were taught it so much that it was hanging out of our nose. But that was in the 80s. Nowadays, most Germans don't even know how to spell Adolf Hitler's name. And nowadays, we have in Eastern Europe the Pegida. Have you ever heard of Pegida? Okay? And xenophobic, Islamophobic kind of movement going on by Eastern Europeans who have never come in contact with their history in the past. You know, they've never really learned about what we learned when I grew up in Germany. You know, and I was actually the only Greek in the class. And I remember how I had to fight to really make my voice stand out, because all Germans there, I remember, we were taught about the Holocaust, and we were taught about Germany being part of it. But then the point is here, I would like to ask you, and I really want to mention this every time actually in a lecture I want to mention this one. I find it unfair the way that the British and the French and the Americans treat the Germans. I find it unfair, because a German cannot open his mouth and say, I'm proud to be German, because then he's accused automatically of being a neo-Nazi. But any British can do that, can say, I'm proud to be British, I'm proud to be French, I'm proud to be American. Anybody can do that except the Germans. Why not? Again, question mark. You know? And again, this goes back to history. This goes back to history. Now, I would like you to pay attention to these following words. I was told that we're going to have a small stop, a small break at 5:30. So, what we're going to do is, I'm going to divide you in groups, okay? And I would like you to, depending on how many groups we can, yeah, we can. each group can maybe have 2 words. You all have mobile phones today, laptops, whatever you have, connection to the internet. I want you to check the words that I'm going to give you in your group, okay? And I give you the time that we will have, inshallah, between 5:30 and maybe 20 to 6, right, around 10 minutes, so that you can give us then after the result, okay? What you have found out, what the internet says about. Now we have the first 2, Fractiné and Alfama. Which group? Shall we take this group here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This group here in front, okay? You have more, okay? Yeah. Okay, stupid groups. So, Fractiné and Alfama, these 2 words, if you can check them, you know what they mean, maybe you know what they mean, great, okay? In the back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? We have azulejos and moros, okay? And then we have Silves and Córdoba, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The gentleman, 2 ladies in the back. Okay, so we have, what was it? Silves and Córdoba. And then we have Ojalá en la Convivencia. Bit wrong, right? Can you join them also, you 2 in the back? Sorry. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This group over here. So, the words Ojalá and la Convivencia. And then the group in front here, okay? Zira and Randan. The biggest group is the most difficult one, Randan. If you, in your group, find out what Randan means, I'm going to give you a very nice gift. And I promise you a very nice one because I know you're not going to. So Zira and Randan. If you can find out what they mean, these words. Now, we start now. What time is it? 5:45?
I think it's because this is what he's getting for. Because Cordoba's a place anyway, and I think Silves is also a place.
Okay.
There's a lot of random things.
I know, my hunch is that it's a place.
The area more or less, any idea? Okay, the area of Saint-Tropez, around Saint-Tropez, does it tell you something like Monaco, Nice, these areas, okay? Around that, okay? Good. Saint-Tropez, so there was a fort built, you said. By some, what was that again?
Muhammad.
Okay, what is that?
Muslim converts to Islam who spoke Latin and Arabic.
What did they do in France?
I don't know.
But you said something about a boat.
I think
Where from?
Oh, I just found that.
You're very close with everything you're saying.
Yeah.
Except I did not know exactly, I'm not sure if they were all Mu'alas, but most probably because if they came from Al-Andalus.
Oh, is it? It says Peshina. They came from someone called Peshina. Where is it?
I see a slight smile.
Yeah, am I right?
Okay, they came from Al-Andalus. Okay, it's all, most of it is true what you're saying. So indeed, it is it's a place, it's not a fort anymore, but it is a place that started off being a fort, a castle. Okay, and it's a place which nowadays, it's a small French town. Actually, it doesn't exist really anymore, definitely not with this name. Fractiné does not exist anymore. But it's a place somewhere in the south of France, okay, and I will show it to you later on the map, inshallah. But there, in the 10th century, okay, beginning of the 10th century, Muslims from Al-Andalus went by boat and established a small settlement known as Fractiné for nearly 100 years. So Islam went to France in the 10th century, and it might have been that many of them were converts from Spain, from the Iberian Peninsula, okay, because most of them were, and they were not Arabs as people misunderstand or think they understand, because Tariq bin Ziyad, for example, the first Muslim who set foot on Spain soil or European soil, Tariq bin Ziyad was where from? What was he? He was not an Arab. He was a Berber from North Africa. Who are the Berbers now? What is that, a Berber? So are they Arabs in North Africa? The Moroccans, the Algerians, the Tunisians, are they Arabs? No?
Not originally. Not originally.
Okay, what do you want to say about that?
Well, after the Arabs came with Uqba and the rest, and Arabs came.
Where from?
Yemen and the rest.
From the peninsula. Okay, the Arabs came from the Arabian Peninsula, opened Egypt first, and I consciously use the word open, okay, which we use also in Arabic, okay, when you open a city for Islam. So they opened Egypt, and in Egypt even there are some Berbers. So after that, all the way, the whole of North Africa up to Morocco accepted Islam within several years. By 700, the whole Berber nation, the indigenous people of North Africa, not Arabs, the indigenous African people in North Africa, they embraced Islam, okay? And these are called Berbers. Where do you think this name comes from?
The free people.
Berbers comes from the Greek word varvaros, which means the Greeks called them first Berbers, like they called all the others who was not a Greek. The Greek mentality is that way.
Alien.
Foreign or barbarian. Barbarian, anybody who does not speak Greek is a barbarian in Greek terms. Now, barbarian did not necessarily mean what we understand nowadays as barbarian, uncivilized, but in a way for the Greeks it did mean it. Okay? But what it actually meant, var, I don't understand what you're saying. Var, varvaros. Bar, I don't know what you're saying. So people who didn't speak Greek, okay, in ancient Greece, were called varvari, barbarians, because we didn't understand them. Okay? And from that term, we derive Berbers in North Africa, and it has remained until nowadays. That's their name. Not in the derogative, it's not a derogative way anymore, definitely not. But for the Greek mindset, and that's why I say again, history, why is history important? For you to understand what's happening in Greece nowadays, why the third biggest party in Greece is the Golden Dawn, which is the worst neo-Nazi and racist party in the world, you will have to understand that. Okay? There is a neo-Nazi, at least in something, Greece is number one. You know, in something, they have one of the biggest and the worst neo-Nazi party in the world, even worse than the Russian, even worse than, you know, many others. So now, at least they're number one. Okay? So now, if you look at that, in order to understand what's happening and what the Greek mindset is, you need to understand their history. Okay? Our history. Yes, I'm also Greek. So our history. So now, we move on. Alfama. So Faxine was indeed a Muslim settlement in France in the 10th century. Not in 1960-70, but in the 10th century. Alfama. I think you said a lot of things before. No, you. What's your name? Issy. What about Alfama?
It's the oldest district of Lisbon. The name derives from the Arabic meaning hot fountains or bath, but it could also mean it could also come from alfa, meaning mouth in Arabic.
Very good, excellent. Thank you very much. Excellent, absolutely. This deserves definitely something, you know. Excellent, absolutely nice. Now, indeed, Alfama. Okay, Alfama. We're not sure. It comes either from Hama, Al-Hamam, or Al-Fam, Al-Ham, whatever, Hamam, bath, or most probably it comes from mouth, Al-Fam. Okay, it comes most probably from the Arabic term mouth, most probably. But okay, it's always like this. You always have difference of opinion, like we have them a lot in Islam also. So you will find it among a lot of scientists, actually historians, you will find a lot of these differences of opinion. But Alfama is indeed the oldest district in Lisbon. Lisbon is in Portugal, right? The capital of Portugal. What does this have to do with the Muslims?
Well, because districts were there for centuries. I mean, in the whole peninsula.
Mm-hmm. The whole Iberian Peninsula.
Yeah.
Okay, this is called the Iberian Peninsula. So Portugal as a country, Spain as a country, and Gibraltar as should be politically correct. How we politically correct? Gibraltar is what?
British overseas territory.
Thank you. As a British overseas territory. Thank you. You know, so these three, all of them were part of Al-Andalus. Somebody mentioned before. Al-Andalus, that's what the Muslims called the Iberian Peninsula. And from there derives nowadays the province, the southern province of Spain is called Andalusia. Okay, it comes from there. Most probably, again, the word Al-Andalus is derived from the ones who were there before the Muslims came, the Vandals, which was a Gothic tribe, Germanic Gothic tribe, the Vandals. Okay, so most probably it might be. Again, we don't know, we're not for sure, we're not sure. But we know that Al-Andalus was a generic name of the whole of the peninsula, and not only the southern province, and not only Spain, but Portugal and Spain. And Portugal was the first country that became a Christian nation. And because they couldn't go inward towards Europe, because the Spaniards were fighting still with the Muslims, they had to go where to? Brazil and Africa. And that's how Portugal became one of the biggest, the first empire, European empire in the world. Now, Alfama indeed is very, very traditionally, very Islamic actually. If you go there, the houses, the structure, everything is beautiful, absolutely amazing. We'll see it later, inshallah. Azulejos, the group in the back.
It's actually, it is derived from an Arabic word named zalij, and it means a thin glazed tile usually found on the exterior and the interior of mosques and churches.
So it has to do with art, okay, and it has to do with ceramic art, with tiles,
yeah.
Okay. Now, have you ever, I don't know who is familiar with Portugal or with Spain, you will find this art, azulejos in Spanish, azulejos in Portuguese, you will find this kind of art in all over the place. And you can buy souvenirs from Portugal and from Spain, and they are, coincidentally enough, azul in Spanish and in Portuguese means blue, and they're all blue. But it is indeed an Arabic term. And strangely enough, azul has become the color blue in Spanish and Portuguese. Okay? There are more than 6,000 terms, by the way, in Spanish and in Portuguese that derive from Arabic. And that's the only, these are Romance languages, meaning Latin-based. But look at the influence of the Arabic language, okay? Now again, 700 years, guys. I don't know, I mean, we all had history at school. I don't know, has anybody ever told you, has anybody ever spoken about 700 years, 700, not 7 and not 70, 700 years of Muslim presence in the Iberian Peninsula. Have you ever heard this at school? I think it's quite, I haven't. And I dare saying that German education is one of the best in the world. And I was never told at school that 700 years, even if you mention these Muslims occupied Spain, say that, not even this one was said. It's like the Visigoths, you know, the Gothic tribes that arrived in Spain, and in 1492, Christopher Columbus arrived in America. Huh? What happened between 1711 and 1492? 700 years, blank history, we don't know what happened. What are you talking about? You don't know what happened. Go to Toledo, go to Malaga, go to Granada, and you will see what happened, okay? Some is still there. Cordoba used to have mosques all over the place. Now there's one at least still there. Okay, go and see. So azulejos indeed. Moros, again, a Spanish term.
Yeah, it means where the Muslims shoulders in Spain. And, I mean, it's a Spanish term, but we found out that our even Philippine population is probably the...
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
No, where are you from, sir?
Italy.
From Italy?
Yeah.
I had your accent. Roma, eh? The dove, the Roma or Milano?
Roma.
The Roma.
Yeah. So I'm a bit offended when you didn't say Rome, talking about European culture.
Oh my goodness, okay, we go on about it. The Roma is just completely Greek. I'm very simple, you know? Everything, very, very simple. Wait, I'm coming back to you. I need to actually, I'll check later, but you deserve a book. But I don't have the right book for you at the moment, but I'll check later. So please remind me, okay? Don't be offended again, please. You're gonna get it, okay? Now, so yes, you mentioned, I lost it. We are at, where are we now? Moros. Yeah, you mentioned the term Moros is used in the Philippines, but it was also used something with Spain. And
yeah,
and
I think it's a Spanish term. I think in English it's Moors.
The Moors, right, okay. Now indeed, look at this one. Look at this one. There is a term in English that's called Moorish. Okay, something Moorish. Now, what is this? If I told you that looks very Moorish, do you understand what I mean? No? From southern Spain? Yeah, what does it mean? Yeah?
Isn't it people, it's like people like that are Arabic, but they also mix with other tribes, other kind of peoples as well?
Kind of, okay. Very simple, actually. It comes from the Greek terminology, and it's always Greek, my friend. A lot of it is always Greek in Europe, you know. The root of European civilization is Greek, right? So now again, Moros comes from Mavros. In Greek, it means black. These people who came to Spain came from North and West Africa. Mauritanian people, people from North Africa, people who had darker skin color, not all of them, but some of them were darker skin color, and most of them were Berbers. Tariq bin Ziyad, again, Tariq bin Ziyad, the first Muslim to set foot in Spain, which in Gibraltar, which is called Gibraltar for that reason, Jibr al-Tariq. Jibr al-Tariq means the mountain or the hill of Tariq. Tariq, the Muslim general who set foot in Gibraltar, in Spain first. For that reason, it's called Gibraltar. So now, when he set foot there, he came with around 4,000. The sources say between 4,000 and 6,000, okay? So now, these soldiers who came with him, most of them were Berbers. Most of them were Berbers. There were also some Arabs in between. And the common language that united them, and that unites the Muslims, should unite the Muslims in the world again, is Arabic. Okay? We just made our prayer, everything. I'm Greek, but still, my prayer is in Arabic, because I'm a Muslim. And this is something that unites the Muslims. A very important point here. And for that reason, people misunderstand this idea later, and they keep saying the Arabs came, the Arabs came, the Arabs came. No! They were not Arabs. And there was nothing national about them. There was nothing ethnic about them. These people, if at all something, then they were Berbers rather than Arabs. And the terminology, the term Moros indicates already that they were darker skinned. So most probably, they were from Mauritania, from West Africa, and East Africa, North Africa. For that reason, the Spaniards called them Moros. And until nowadays, every Muslim in Spain is called Moro. It doesn't matter if you're light-skinned, dark, or whatever, that means Muslim in Spanish. That's it. It has become now a term in Spanish and in Portuguese. Now the other thing that our friend, what's your name?
Leo.
Leo. Leo de Roma. So what Leo said before, from Roma, okay? Leo said that in the Philippines, strange enough, there are some people called Moros. Have you ever heard of the Moros Liberation Front? In the south of the Philippines, there's an island called Mindanao. And the biggest population living there are Muslims. And they're fighting for independence from the Catholic nation of the Philippines. How come that the Philippines became Catholic?
Spanish.
Yeah, no. What exactly? Say it.
Well, missionaries from Spain came over and colonized.
Not only they colonized Spain, okay? They colonized Spain and then the missionaries came with them, okay? And they became Catholic. Many of them before were either Buddhists or Muslims. Islam was in the Philippines long before Christianity arrived. So the Spanish who came and occupied the Philippines left their language behind. In the language that they speak nowadays, Filipino, there is a lot of Spanish terms, Spanish grammar, Spanish in there, okay? Now, these Spaniards had just got rid of the Muslims and arrived on the other side of the world and found Muslims again. And strangely enough, these Muslims were darker skinned again. What is happening? Now, again, these guys are Moros. So they called them Moros. Okay? Do you understand why history is so important to understand this? It is incredibly interlinked, everything. And not only this one, I'm going to tell you something now, but hey, keep your mind down. Sometimes my mind is blowing out of proportion because of these things. Okay? Now look at this. Australia. Have you ever heard of Australia having Muslims? You know what? You ready? 250 years before Captain Cook arrived in Australia, there were Muslim villages in the north of Australia, the Northern Territories. What are you saying? You're saying that because you're Muslim, right? All right. You know what? Because I read these things and I was never told, I started questioning my education. That led me to Islam after 3 years of intense study. I was wondering, how come You know, we have one of the best educations in the world. I have two educations, two different types of education. I went to Greek school and I went to German school. And still I've never heard of these things. And if I heard something about the Muslims, then it was always negative. Then it was always lies. So maybe they lied to us about Islam as well. 3 years later, I became Muslim. Now, please, non-Muslims, be careful. Do not find a lot about Islam because it might be something that might be intriguing and interesting. Be careful. The media tells us this. Be careful. You know, nowadays, you know, it used to be like this, that we would watch TV and we would hear about, you know, terrorist attacks. And it was always an Arab-looking face, wasn't it? It was an Arab-looking face. No beard, nothing, but Arab-looking. Next, it was somebody with a beard. Oh. Now, it's a convert. Now, whenever there are attacks, it's an American, James so-and-so, he converted to Islam 2 years ago. You know, a French, he converted to Islam 3 years ago. Don't you see a pattern? Very strange, isn't it? Suddenly it's converts, you know? Suddenly it's these people who accept Islam because, you know, they're getting brainwashed because they cannot think for themselves, and then they go and do these things because Islam is a violent religion, isn't it? Now, through history until nowadays, we can find out that Islam was anything but violent. Islam spread through Africa because of trade, from north down to west, from north down to east, from east down to south, because of trade. Not one drop of blood fell in Africa because of the Muslims coming there and killing them. Because of trade. Asia, Indonesia, the biggest Muslim country in the world, they embraced Islam because they saw the Muslim traders being honest people. I'm not telling you to go to Muslim shops today and to deal with Muslims, don't. But that time, they were saying, you want to know Islam? Look at the Muslims. Now I'm saying, please do not look at the Muslims, look at the sources, look at Islam. Okay? Do not. Unfortunately. So now, if we're looking at this type of history, it is very, very important to understand all these things, to see the connections. Okay? So the Moros, again, are the people who nowadays are called Moros. Actually, every Muslim is called Moros in Spain and in Portugal because of that time. And this went back to the Philippines. Indeed, when you hear the Moro Liberation Front, you know all these other people are living in the south of the Philippines. With regards to Australia, because I lost this one, with regards to Australia, Australians, Aborigine people, the real Australians, not the cowboy ones, the real Australians were dealing with Indonesians already in the 1500s. Indonesians were Muslims already. What did they do in Australia? They went to Australia and they were actually fishing for a specific specialty which they liked. I don't know exactly what it is. It's called trapang in Indonesia. Okay? Now, so they were going to Australia and they were fishing and they were actually doing business and trade with the Aborigines. Many of the Aborigines became Muslims. There were entire villages before Captain Cook arrived in Australia. And they decided, some of the Australian Aborigines decided to go with the Indonesians to the archipelagos. So now, boom, connection. Mindanao, the Malay and the archipelagos, Indonesia. Why are the darker people there? They're mixed with the people from the Aboriginal people, so from the people from Australia. And that's why we'll find in Mindanao, for example, people who look quite dark, and you wonder, like, where did they come from? Do you understand the connection again? So Australia, 250 years before Captain Cook arrived there, there were Muslim villages, and the Aborigines had accepted, many of them had accepted Islam, and many of them went with Indonesians to the archipelago, to live there, to get married there, to study there, to stay there. It's unbelievable, isn't it? These things are really unbelievable. Now, more Silvish. Quickly, this one, Silvish? Yes?
Sorry, one question.
No,
I'm
please.
not denying your, what it's saying, but I was just wondering where you found the evidence.
No, you should ask this. It doesn't matter if I'm saying it or not. You don't, you're not insulting me at all. I can give you, whoever wants, by the way, that's a good one. I can give this around, put your email addresses in, and I got my business cards with me. So if you want to keep in touch with me, ask me questions, get any resources, any information that I have at this moment that I can send them out to you, if you ask me to. I'm not going to do it for everyone, but if you ask me to, I will, inshallah, okay? So if you want, give me your email addresses. Can I give it around?
Yeah.
Give me your email addresses maybe, and
Thank you so much.
I have my business cards here, plus I have my books here today, so 3 of them, if you want to today, they're all with DVDs, by the way. All of them have a documentary at the end, DVD. They cost £10 each, and 3 of them together, 25. The one is Hungary, the other one is Vienna, and the other one is Greece. And 2 DVDs separately. So whoever is interested, please take a look at them. You will support my projects. I don't get funded by no Saudi, by no Kuwaiti, by no Qatari, by no British government. Nobody wants to fund me, okay? Because, you know, you always have to take side of somebody. And I don't do that. I take the side of the truth. And if it doesn't like, the Greeks don't like it, they call me a Turkish spy. The Turks don't like it, they call me a Greek spy. You know, it is all, you know, I was in Istanbul some months ago. There is a publisher there, and I can proudly say he's one of the biggest ones there who wants to translate, who is actually busy now translating my books. And in Istanbul, I was at several universities, and I had the chance to do some lectures, some quick talks. Especially for them, it was important, not what I'm saying, but to see me, to touch me, because I'm Greek. So they wanted to come and hug me and touch me. Are you really Greek? You know, might it be that you have some Turkish ancestors or something? They didn't believe that I was Greek. Because, again, history, Greece and Turkey, okay, clash, problems, right, until nowadays. The Ottoman Empire, 500 years, the Ottomans being in Greece, so this affected the Greek mindset. Fine. Now, Silves, yes, the city of Silves, quickly. Who was that? Where was that?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
It's a municipality.
I come, don't worry, I saw you. Okay. Go on.
It's a municipality in southern Portugal, but in 713 it became part of the Umayyad Emirate of Cordoba under the name Shul. And then in the 10th century it was one of the most important towns in Andalus, becoming an independent kingdom in 1027, where it was a hotspot for commerce and produce.
Great, okay, indeed. It is a very tiny, unimportant town somewhere in the Algarve, in the south of Portugal. But that time, it played the role that Cordoba played in Spain. So, what Cordoba was for the Muslims in Spain, Silves was for the Muslims in Portugal. There was no Portugal, but the area. Okay? Indeed, you're absolutely right, and I'm going to give you also a book, okay? I think this one would be nice. So, yes, Silves. Next one. What was the next one? Cordoba. Okay, Cordoba, very, very quick. Yeah. Very simple, very quick. Sorry, I saw you actually. Do you want to say something about Cordoba?
That it was, it says here that it was attacked. It was the governor of Cordoba attacked Silves in 1191 and took 3,000 slaves.
Okay, wow, okay, ooh, okay. All right, what more about Cordoba then? What more? What was Cordoba then?
It says the city was then called Baghdad of the West. That's what it says.
Okay, it's a city in the south of Spain, which is in Andalusia nowadays, okay. But it was the important role that it played was that it was a capital of the Muslims during the time when the Muslims were there. Okay, so 8th, 9th, 10th century, it was a capital, and it was the second biggest city in Europe after Constantinople. The second biggest city in Europe after Constantinople, and interestingly enough, Constantinople was a Greek city and Cordoba was a Muslim city. Okay, now, what the Romans did that time, by the way, where are you, my friend? Here, Rome. What happened to Rome that time? You know what happened to Rome that time? Rome was finito la musica, yeah? Rome was finito that time, but it came up later, unfortunately, you know. Good. Silves, Cordoba, Ojalá. Now, we have two. We have one with X and we have one with J. The one with X is Portuguese, which is pronounced Oxalá, and the one with J is Spanish, Ojalá, which means?
Ojalá means the, it's like God willing, or I hope so.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, do you see any? Okay, good. Okay, that's true, that's correct, I hope so. Any Muslim who can maybe see the connection to Islam? Inshallah. Exactly. Absolutely true. Ojalá, the Spaniards use every day in their speaking. They say, nos vemos mañana, ojalá. We'll see each other tomorrow, inshallah. That's the Arabic inshallah. which we use as Muslims, meaning if God wills, right? That's what you wanted to say, right? Okay, if God wills. So, it has become part of the Spanish and Portuguese language. And they don't realize it. They use the term Allah without realizing it. The torero, you know, the toro, you know. What does he say when the toro passes him?
Ojalá.
No. He doesn't say ojalá. What does he say?
Ole.
Ole. What is ole? Allah. He says, Alhamdulillah, I escaped. That's what it means. Allah, really? Allah. You know, he says Allah and he became ole. All right, so there is so much that you will find in Spanish, okay? More than 6,000 terms. And interestingly enough, in the south of Italy, Sicilia, you know, any connection with Sicilia? Sicily? Any connection? Such a pity. I love Sicily. Sicily is very nice. Sicily is either Greek or Muslim. That's it, you know. It shouldn't be Italian, actually. It should, you know. So Sicily, the southern part of this, the island, Italian island in the south of the boot, Italy, there you will find a lot of Greek and Muslim remains, okay? Lots of them, because the Muslims were there for 250 years. So as they stayed for around 700 years on the Iberian Peninsula, they stayed for 250 years in Sicily, and the influence, what they left behind is the national dish in Sicily. Leo, what is the national dish of Sicily?
Oh my God.
No? Okay, if you don't know, no problem. It's couscous. Couscous. What is couscous? Couscous is a national dish of Morocco, of North Africa, isn't it? That's what they left behind, and not only this one. The cuisine, the whole Sicilian cuisine is wonderful. You know, what is basically Arabic? You know, we all think now, pizza is Italian, right?
Yeah.
You can kill me later if you want. Pizza is Italian, right? The Italians marketed it. Yes. They went to Chicago and made it big. American pizza, American Italian pizza. Good, fine. But now, the truth is, pizza comes from the Middle East, lahmacun. Oh my God!
Not Turkish, no.
So that's not the only thing. What about spaghetti, pasta? Where does this come from? From China. You know that. But they marketed it again. Mamma mia, the mama. You know, listen, you want to eat? I got something new from China. Try. They said no. They said no. It's Italian, it's mine, it's Mama. Mama made it. And that's it, it became Italian. The Italians, you know, millions of them in America, marketed it. And now we all eat spaghetti, even me. You know, we all eat spaghetti. We love it. What about ice cream, gelato? Now, this is another mind blower. You know, when you go to the Italians, you ask them, you go to the Italian gelateria and you tell them, I want Arabic ice cream. He will tell you, no, we don't have Arabic ice cream, we have just Italian. You will tell him, listen, the Tunisians, when they were here, you know, from North Africa, they started in the area of Mount Etna, they started taking ice because it was very hot, and gave it a touch, different type of, you know, with fruits or different type of taste, flavor, and they started licking it. That became ice cream. Italian gelato, you know? This became ice cream, okay? And now we think Italy has something, and in the end, Italy has nothing. No, okay, I'm telling you one thing. The Greeks have nothing either, no way. You know, everything that's Greek is actually Turkish. You know that our whole cuisine, the whole Greek cuisine that we're so proud of, you know, it's actually Turkish. All right? Give it a Greek name and it's Greek, you know? So, come on.
Actually,
but
it is a Mesopotamian, sorry.
Well, it is all Mediterranean, yes, Syrian, you know, this whole area, yes. Civilization came from that area, okay? Now, and civilized nations and cultures, you know, they were influencing each other. That's how it is in history, guys. Okay, now, no joke, everything really, put everything aside and just think clearly. Without immigration and without influence from outside, we would never be, you know what Britain was in the 50s? I heard that British shops were just open from Monday to Wednesday. Okay? And when the Indo-Pakistanis came, they opened their shop and they kept them open the whole week. Suddenly we have 24/7. So, you know, I mean, this is influence from outside, and that's how culture develops, and that's how a country develops, that's how a nation develops. Okay? And not only a specific nation, we have Britain now. Anybody in the world was like this. The Greeks, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, he went up to India. Who did he marry? Who was his son? Who gave him a son after he died? An Iranian princess. And you know what? He had good taste. An Iranian princess. Many Greeks told him, what? Are you crazy? You're going to marry a barbarian? What's that? A barbarian? Don't we have enough Greek girls? Well, Alexander the Great, he knew what he was doing. You know? And he got him, and in the end, there was an Alexander after him when he died, and he ruled. Alexander's not the whole empire anymore, of course, after Alexander died, but there was another Alexander who actually has Iranian blood. Now, Egypt, and so on and so on. It's all the same story. It's all the same things, okay? That's how it is in life, you know? Civilizations influence each other, and that's good like this. That's how it should be. That's how it should be. Yes. One of the last ones, La Convivencia. Quickly, this one. La Convivencia. Who had this?
It's the coexistence of the period of Spanish history from the Muslim Umayyad conquest of Hispania in the early 8th century until the expulsion of the Jews in 1492. In the different Moorish Iberian kingdoms, it is widely claimed that Muslims, Christians and Jews lived in relative peace. Okay, the last thing, that's the most important one, because indeed that's the whole issue. The convivencia just simply means, translated, coexistence or cohabitation. Cohabitation between Jews, Muslims and Christians. Okay? All three monotheistic religions were living together in Spain, not only in Spain, in Portugal as well, but in Al-Andalus, and they were influencing each other. So you're absolutely right, that's exactly what convivencia is. Basically, they were all working with each other, living with each other, intermarrying, okay, but under an Islamic rule and Islamic system. And you know what, sadly enough, you know, it was the Islamic system that kept the Jews alive. It was the Islamic system that translated Greek, ancient Greek and Roman texts and gave them through to Europe. Otherwise, we wouldn't have Aristotle and Plato nowadays. Okay? Everything that the Europe is so proud about, everything that Europe thinks is European, comes back to that time. They rediscovered the sources of Aristotle, Plato, and Sophocles, and many other big philosophers, and Greeks, and Romans, and God knows what. And then it was also, and not only translated, sorry, a very important point, because Greeks keep saying that, yeah, okay, the Arabs did it, fine. But they didn't only translate, but they improved the word, because if we take Aristotle's Aristotelian philosophy, then, according to Aristotle, the center of the universe is this earth. That's obviously not correct. So that was corrected by the Muslims. And the Catholic Church still believes this myth until nowadays. The center of the universe is the earth. This is Aristotelian philosophy. So not only did they take from the Greeks, but they also corrected what was wrong. Okay? A very important point. So indeed, convivencia was the system of the Muslims. Not only just as a word, cohabitation, but it was a system, the very system. Christians, Muslims and Jews were living together, working together, intermarrying each other, you know? And, but under the Islamic rule and Islamic system. Now, thank you, very nice. Last two, Gzira and Randan.
Yeah, Gzira, I mean, it's an Arabic word. It's called Jazira or Jazira itself.
Are you sure? What does it say Gzira then?
Well, I will come to that one.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, but as a name, when I read it in the first place, Jazira means it's a land surrounded by sea from other places. It's an island, basically. And it's basically an island in Malta. And yeah, so
what shall I do with him? He's right, you know. It's
a town in the northern coast, Malta, between Masida and Sariva.
But it's not only a specific part. Who says Gzira? Who uses this term? And the same Randan. Who uses this term?
In the 19th century, it's probably Or even before that one, I think you still can find even houses with the Islamic traditional way, curves and
architecture.
things,
Yeah. Okay, up to there. Okay, no, you're right up to there, but there's something very important missing here.
Yeah.
Where does it come from? This Gzira and Randan. You said Arabic Jazeera, yes, but it doesn't say Jazeera. It says Gzira. This is not Arabic. Yes.
Walid city, Valletta, or whatever.
Valletta, that's in Malta. Yeah, yeah.
Could you say it's a mixture? Because the Knights of St. John's owned Malta, so could you say it's a mixture of the Christian Knights of St. John mixing with...
So it has to do with Malta.
Yeah.
It has to do with Malta.
Yeah.
It has to do with the island of Malta, or the islands, okay? Goes on Malta. So what exactly, yes?
But aren't Maltese people a mixture of Arabic and Italian? So I'm just taking a guess, saying maybe it's a mixture of Arabic and Italian.
Okay, that's a guess, okay.
I think the Roman Catholic, even the parish church of Zira is also known locally, Kalajepla.
Okay, all right, look. Malta was part of the Muslim world, okay? As Sicily was, as Spain was, as Portugal was, Fraxiné in France, and so on. For a while, around 200 years, Malta was part of the Muslim world. The people who went there spoke Arabic, okay? They were not Arabs, all of them. They were also Berbers because they came from North Africa. Now, simply because of the location, it's very close to Italy, right? We can assume that many people living there had a connection with Italy. Yes. Official language in Malta? 2 official languages, no. 2 official languages. One English because it was British colony, and the other one Italian. The point is, and that's where we're going to talk about inferiority and superiority complex here now. The problem is that none of the Maltese goes to their granny and say, "Hi granny, how you doing?" or "Como estai?" No. They speak the language that they are actually speaking, which is Maltese. And Maltese is nothing else but an Arabic dialect. 60 to 70% of the Maltese language is Arabic. It's as much an Arabic dialect as Libyan and Argentine and Algerian and Tunisian is. It's so close that the Libyans during the time of Gaddafi actually had a base in Malta, in La Valletta, in the capital, and they could communicate with their Maltese counterpart in Maltese, which was actually Arabic. So the Maltese language is nothing else but an Arabic dialect, and the only Arabic dialect written with the Latin alphabet in the world. Okay? What I meant with inferiority complex is when you ask the Maltese, what is your language, they will tell you Italian or English. They will never tell you the truth. Why? There is an inferiority complex. They have a problem with that. They have a problem with his history. They don't want to admit that because of the Muslim past, because they're a strong Roman Catholic nation nowadays, because of the Muslim past, that's what the Muslims left behind with them. The only thing you can really see in Malta, there's not a lot that you can find in Malta still from that time, but something that you hear is their language, which is basically Arabic. Okay? And there is a problem still among them. They don't want to admit it, okay? Now, Gzira indeed is Maltese for the Jazeera. So the term originally is Arabic, Jazeera. But it has become Maltese now, it's a Gzira. The same Randan. Randan actually comes from Ramadan, but it does not mean Ramadan. Do you know the Christians have a specific feast, celebration, Lent? Do you know the Lent celebration? That's a Christian celebration. And they gave it the name of Ramadan, can you believe that? So it's Ramadan. Okay, it's a Christian celebration, not a Muslim celebration. Now, these are all mind-blowing facts. You can check them all up if you want to. You can find everything I told you just now. It's just that it is not put in order. It's not yet put in order, okay? I'm working on it, but I'm the only one doing it at the moment. That's why I said, you know, my projects and my next project is Italy. I'm going to Sicily in China. I'm going to Rome actually very soon to hire a car and drive down, right? I arrive in Rome the same day I hire a car and drive down. I go to Lucera and I go to many other places in the south of Italy, all the way down to Sicily. Okay? To actually, the documentary that I'm going to make there is like this one, a book with a documentary which is going to focus on the Islamic past of 250 years in the south of Italy, okay? And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what you can find. From Bari, Brindisi, all the way down, you will find so many Muslim remind us of that time. Unbelievable, okay? The language itself and many other things, all right? So this is a project, and of course, as I said before, it needs money. So if you want to support me, buy a book, buy the DVD, you know, and give me the okay so that next time I can have them with me, inshallah, the documentaries. Now, look at Europe quickly. We have until, we had a break in between, so we have until 7, right? Do we have to be like 7, 8, really out 7? Or can we still, because I want them to still mix a little bit of the books and whatnot?
Maybe a bit, maybe. Until security 10 off, we'll be fine.
So that means like 10 to 7 or something, inshallah. Okay, fine. Right, now, again, please feel free, interrupt me, ask question. Now, the most important part was that actually. I wanted you to find out, first of all, I wanted you to see that you can do research yourself. I want you to realize that nowadays, it's not like my time, that time 20 years ago, when we had to spend the nights in the library to discover something. Maybe a book from Berlin had to be sent over, a book from New York we had to order. You know, we don't need these things nowadays. You go online, your phones, now you're sitting here, you go online and you found out most of the things. Okay? Of course, we don't know how accurate certain things are. So this is where the research comes in, where you have to find out if Wikipedia is telling the truth. Okay? And that's why you need to find out, you know, what is right, what is wrong. And that requires time. Okay? Now, Europe, just for everybody to get a general picture of our continent. Look how close Europe is. Just a reminder, I'm sure you know that, but just a reminder, look how close North Africa is to Europe. Okay? Morocco is basically, when you're standing in the north, you can see Gibraltar. Okay? Algeria, Tunisia. Look, Sicily. We're talking about Sicily. Rome is somewhere up here, yeah? Rome is here. Okay? And here we have Greece, Turkey, the Balkan Peninsula, Central Europe, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Northern Europe, Scandinavia, the Benelux countries, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Holland, the Netherlands, France, Spain, and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, and Britain, the United Kingdom with Ireland. Okay? Just a general reminder again, just to know what we're talking about. Now, the Mediterranean Sea, very important because actually, you know, the center of Islam, of Europe, of European civilization, of course, was Greece, but also the Mediterranean Sea in general. And not only for Europe what is important, but countries like Mesopotamia, Syria, countries like North Africa, Egypt, of course, and so on and so on. They played a massive role in Islamic civilization, human civilization, right? As we all know. All right? Now, what is this? Any idea?
Cordoba.
Good. You know that? Have you seen it? Have you visited?
Yeah.
Okay. What is that in Cordoba? We spoke about Cordoba before, you remember? What was it again, Cordoba?
The Grand Mosque, second largest.
Okay, it is the Mezquita, the mosque, the Grand Mosque, the only one that remains still in Cordoba. Cordoba was the capital of the Muslims, right? The second biggest city in Europe after Constantinople. Okay? Now, that's a mosque. Do you realize, especially the non-Muslims, if I asked you, do you see a mosque in there? If I showed you and I said, not really, right? When you see a mosque, what do you expect to see?
A dome.
There's a minaret.
The minaret.
Minaret. Oh, there is a minaret. Look. Yeah.
Dome.
Okay? Okay, but not really what you expect, right? Okay? The idea that we have nowadays, right, is an Ottoman-style mosque, meaning the dome and the minarets, right? Maybe a North African-looking style, you know, with the minarets and everything. We have an idea of mosques nowadays. And you know what? The Muslims don't make it easy for us Europeans here to understand what Islam really is about. Islam is not Turkish, Islam is not Arabic, and it does not have a specific architecture. And if, then it's Islamic. And it's not Arabic and it's not Turkish. Unfortunately, I just came from Exeter. Fortunately, I came from Exeter. Unfortunately, I saw a new mosque that was built in Exeter, and it looked, of course, again like Delhi, India. Nice, but it's not about niceness. It's about understanding that Islam is part of Europe. And if I build an Indian mosque in the center of Exeter, doesn't go. If I build a Turkish mosque, Turkish-looking mosque, in the center of Berlin, that doesn't say we are here to stay. That doesn't say Islam is German. It says Islam is Turkish. Do you understand what I want to say with that? I'm not sure if you understand what I want to say with that, especially the Muslims. I'm not sure. Yes, tell me.
Don't
don't we live in a society where they should be okay with us having a mosque? Not that, this is just playing devil's advocate in the sense that we shouldn't be
listen to yourself. You said, sorry. You said don't we live in a society
where everyone should
have to accept. No, say that again, please. What you said before.
I mean, shouldn't we live in a society where it's okay if I feel like I want to?
No. Say again exactly as you said it before, please, brother. Don't we live in a society for them to accept
where it's okay for
us. For us.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But for us to come, I'll carry on in the term that I was saying it in, and set up a mosque, for example, in the traditional Turkish or Indian or traditional style, shouldn't that be okay? Because we live in a supposedly harmonious and equal society where anybody can come and do and feel and say as they want, as long as that's in line with peace. I don't think it, you know, I personally, I don't believe that a community or a religion should have to change unless it's changes traditions, unless it's...
Okay, so I stop you there now. I guess that's why I said the Muslims. I did not say we have to change Islam. Never. I'm not saying that we have to change Islam. We don't need to change Islam. Islam
is not a building, I understand.
Adopted itself wherever it went to. That's Spain. That's a Spanish mosque. It's not a Moroccan. It's not a Mauritanian. It's not an African mosque. It's a Spanish, very Spanish. Nowhere else will you find this building. You go to Istanbul. What do you think you see there? Are these Turkish mosques, you think, as we call it nowadays? No, these are all Byzantine buildings. Byzantine. There was an empire before the Ottomans, which was called the Byzantine Empire, for more than 1,000 years. And all the structure of the Hagia Sophia, which the Turks and the Ottomans copied later, which they justly, correctly copied because that's where they went to. They did not go into a country and just put, boom, a Seljuk Asian-looking mosque in there, but they just kept it in the structure, in the form that everything fit nicely. You go to Mali, a country in West Africa, and you see a mosque which fit nicely to its surrounding. You go to Mauritania, you see the same. You go to Egypt, you see the same. You go to Tunisia, you see the same. This is what Islam actually was. Now we come to Europe, and we come as Pakistanis, we come as Indians, we come as Algerians, as whatever, Arabs, and we bring Arab architecture with us. We bring Algerian architecture with us. You see what I'm saying? But no, I want a brick, even if it's nicer. That's not the point here. I want a brick building which looks like all the others there, with maybe a minaret, like in a different type of. It doesn't have to be a minaret nowadays even, because you don't need it anymore. There's no more anymore. So basically, you build a mosque, but you fit yourself. You make yourself comfortable. You don't meet up in the cafeteria downstairs there and speak Moroccan Arabic because that reminds you of where you come from originally. Because then you will always be treated as a Moroccan. You will never be treated as somebody who lives in this country and is part of this country. And our deen will never become part of this country if we don't also try to integrate it. You see what I'm saying? Please, Sissy, what did you want to say? You want to say that? I want to do that. You know? The point is, you understand the point that I'm trying to make. I met when I was in Istanbul, I met the architect of this beautiful mosque in Berlin. Okay? Beautiful Turkish mosque in Berlin, but indeed it's a Turkish mosque. And I asked him, I said, can I ask you one thing? Next to the money, of course. It's one of the biggest architects in Turkey. He was employed to go and build a mosque in Berlin, which he did wonderfully. But then I asked him, I said, do you really think that it fit to Berlin? Do you really think that this makes us more welcome? I'm German, and I want to be accepted as a German Muslim in Germany. I do not want to be seen as a Turk, because I'm not a Turk. And we have German Muslims. At this moment, we have more than 120,000 German Muslims, officially, unofficially, many more. 120,000 German Muslims, what about them? See what I'm saying? So Islam is part of Germany, and we have seen before, Islam is part of Europe anyway. Historically, it has actually been part of Europe anyway, for centuries already. So why does it have to take this, immigrant approach? Why do we have to have an immigrant masjid? Why not a really British masjid, an American masjid, an English masjid? Something fit into its surrounding, I don't mean anything else. And please, something very important also, khutbahs on Fridays. You go to a masjid and you hear them speaking Urdu. What the heck? You know, I want to understand the khutbah on Friday. You are in this country where we have 120,000 British Muslims, and you have the khutbah, the speech on Friday, in Urdu. That excludes me. That excludes your own children, because most of them don't even speak Urdu, right? Okay? Arabic. Yes, Arabic is an important language for Muslims. Great. Fine, let's learn it. But why does it have to be the khutbah in Arabic here? The khutbah in England has to be in English, the khutbah in Greece has to be in Greek, the khutbah in Italy has to be in Italian. So that then finally, we don't have the grandma passing by the mosque and like, oh my goodness, it's the Pakistanis again. And they're not wrong if they think that. Tell me they're wrong. They just hear somebody speaking a foreign language which they don't understand. They just see something foreign, you know, they don't understand. Why should they? Why should they understand? Tell me, why should they understand?
There's no harm in understanding different cultures.
Sorry?
There's no harm in understanding different cultures.
Never, but why should they? Why do you come and tell them they have to understand my culture?
I'm not saying they have to, I'm saying there's no harm.
I 100% agree with that. But then if it was a normality, then we wouldn't have Igor. If it was a normality, we wouldn't have Pegida in Germany. We wouldn't have so many things if that was a normality. It's not. Make it easy then. Make it easy for them to understand. Why make it difficult? I can pronounce my name as it really is, but just a moment. I can tell you, my name is Stef Keris. Now they haven't tried to pronounce this. Yes, my name is Stef Keris. It's not Stef Keris, and it's not Stefanos Keris, you know? It's not. It's Stefanos Keris. You cannot pronounce it. So I'm not going to make it difficult for you. So I'm going to try to either make it easier without changing it, of course that's my identity, or I'm going to say it in a slower pace. I'm going to tell you my name is Stefanos, okay? Now, Keris, or as I do with Keris, just to make it simple, okay? But I do not change my identity, and I do not change anything about me. But I make it easier for you to understand. Oh, it's Greek, right? Yes, it is indeed. You see? Now, try to understand Stefanos Keris. You know, I mean, come on. You understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is, make it easy for everyone. Why making it difficult? Islam is an easy thing. Rasulullah, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he was told to choose between two things, what would he choose? Would he choose a difficult one or the easy thing? The easy thing. Our Prophet Muhammad would choose the easy of the two things, as long as it's within the framework of Islam. The framework of Islam is extremely big. It's us, Muslims, who make it small. The framework of Islam is not this. The framework of Islam is extremely big. But you have to know it, and that's the problem. We don't have knowledge, we have ignorance. We have educated Muslims and academics, but they don't know Islam. They might be good as doctors, they might be good in science, they might be good in computer, whatever, engineering, but they just do not know their deen, they do not know Islam. And this is the problem we have nowadays. Okay? And that's why we come with these buildings that we have nowadays, which remind you rather of Karachi and Lahore than of London. Okay? So now, that's the interior. The interior is, of course, no problem. The interior is the interior. Once you're inside, give it a touch that you want to give it. That's fine. But do not chase them away from the outside. So that's the inside of the mosque. That's again by night, the outside. This one is, yes, brother, sorry, I saw you. No, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. The point is that that's a whole, that's cultural education that needs to be done within my community. How do you go about doing that when these people, for example, I come from West Midlands in Birmingham, and before that Edinburgh, Scotland, and obviously the Muslims are raising over there and establishing themselves over there. The problems that they face now, because of the generations that came beforehand, their sort of negligence essentially to develop and take on, you know, that point that I was saying before, I was playing devil's advocate, not necessarily believing that, but how do you suggest we go about re-educating people in society that have been here for a long, long time, since the 50s and 60s, so that my generation can adapt and change and allow for these, allow for others to have a better understanding of Islam, as you said, you know,
But I'm talking about your generation. I'm talking about us and younger. I'm talking about our generation. I'm not talking about our parents and grandparents.
Unfortunately, in a lot of the communities that we have the issues in, it's the elders that actually have the control within these communities at this moment in time. Obviously, that will change throughout time.
Of course, it's a matter of time. Yes.
How do we go about educating them? It's a very difficult thing. It's just a question I wanted to ask you.
You know you come from Birmingham, don't you? You said.
Sorry, yes.
You come from Birmingham.
Yes.
Now, Green Lane Mosque.
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yeah. I could step on Green Lane Mosque 10 years ago.
10 years ago, Green Lane Mosque was just run by some older Pakistani, administration, right? Nowadays, it's all youngsters.
Yep. Okay?
That's what we have to do. A small revolution. Taking the matters in our own hands, because indeed, you're right. We don't need, they're seeing really, what has become, these mosques were established by the parents and grandparents to actually make them centers of coming together.
Yep.
Coming together, have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, speaking their language, feeling at home, feeling secure. That's what it is. But now, the next generation does not need that.
We want religious centers.
Exactly. Now we want a mosque. We don't want a community center. We want a masjid. We want a masjid where we go, we pray, have lectures or whatever in English. Okay? So all this is developing slowly, very slowly, I agree, but it is developing. In certain countries more than in others. Okay? And this country, we have to say that it's the only country in Europe that gives us the opportunity actually. The opportunity for me to stand here and say this is what I'm saying, and you listening to that and having a conversation like that, believe me, if I ever dare doing something like this in Germany, there would be most probably waiting outside waiting for me at the end of the day. There is no ISOC. Do you know that? Are you guys aware of that? I want you to realize what we have in this country. ISOCs, Islamic societies, do not exist in the rest of Europe. Are you aware of that? You all think that in France or in Germany or in Switzerland or in Austria or in Denmark, we all have Islamic societies in the university? We are lucky if we can pray in the corridors. We don't have these things. The prayer that we made here before, if we had done this in Germany, we would have security already there. So, and that's what I said to these idiotic youngsters who go on the street, Britain, Britain, what Britain, Britain? If you don't like it, go to Pakistan if you think it's better. And it's not, and that's why it's here. Right? We have much more freedom in this country than in many so-called Muslim countries. And we all know that. Okay? And we have to appreciate that. And the worst thing to do is to come and nag about certain things, and take certain things for granted. That's the worst thing we can do. But this just shows our ignorance. Because you have never seen the rest of Europe, that's why. You have never seen how it is down there. Okay? But we will talk, inshallah. Just unfortunately, it's time, unfortunately. This is always the same issue, but I have to quickly this one. Now, this is again in Spain. This is the inside, okay, of the mosque. Just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Now, this is still there. You can still go and visit them in Spain. Everything's still there, mashallah. It's absolutely amazing, beautiful, and it is part of European civilization. This is Islamic civilization, but it's part of European civilization. This is Spain we're talking about. We're talking about Spanish Muslims. Al-Qurtubi was not an Arab. The Muslims from Spain were not Arabs. 700 years. Now, you have been living here second, third generation, you're British. What about 700 years? Are you still not Spanish? Why 7,000 years? How long do you want to be in Spain? So, this is the Central Mosque of Madrid, modern building, as you can see. This is in Gibraltar. This is the mosque in Gibraltar. Okay? Where Tariq bin Ziyad set foot, the first Muslim in Spain and in Europe. Now, Portugal, that's a quick reminder of Portugal. This is the Islamic Center of Lisbon. Okay? Modern building, of course, but it's a country with no Muslims, but mosques. We have in Greece Muslims, so we don't have mosques. We have nearly 1 million Muslims in Athens, and we have no Islamic Center. In Portugal, they have nearly no Muslims, 40,000 if I'm right, and they have Islamic Center which they all fitted them. Okay. Now, this is again, you will find this kind of fountain in Portugal, which is a reminder from the time of the Moors, of the Muslims, right? Now, this shows the development of Al-Andalus. So when the Muslims arrived in Spain, here, somewhere in the south, Gibraltar, they went all the way to the north and left a very tiny bit. And that was a mistake. A tactical mistake that the Muslims made that time. They left the Christians up in the north, around here, which is known as Galicia, the country of the Basques. They left them up there. Is it not here? Leave them, no problem. And that was a mistake. Because years later, 750 already this, 800, 1050, 1150, 1200, 1300, 1492, the last city in Spain, which was Muslim Granada, fell. And you know what? A treaty was signed between Queen Isabella from Spain and the Muslim ruler of Granada. And the treaty said that the Muslims were not allowed to be touched. They were allowed to get dressed as they want to, have the adhan, have masjids, mosques, madrasas, everything they wanted to. Within 7 years, end of story, end of treaty. The Muslims lasted with the Christians and the Jews on the Iberian Peninsula 700 years. Within 7 years, the Christians couldn't take the Muslims and the Jews. And not only this one, especially at the beginning with the Jews had to decide first. They had to either become Christian or leave the country. And many of them did that. And where did they go to? To the Ottoman Empire. Who took the Jews when they had to leave Spain? The other Muslim empire. The Christians get rid of them and they go there and then they call us anti-Semitic. I want you to show me anti-Semitism during the time of Islamic history, during the time of Spain, of Al-Andalus. When have you ever, and I will challenge you, show me one incident of a pogrom, which means, an incident of Christians or Muslims breaking into Jewish shops or killing Jews because they're Jews. Has this ever happened in Al-Andalus? Has this ever happened in Sicily? Has this ever happened in Malta? No, never. Selim II, when he had told the Jews, come in 1492, come to me, come to my empire, he said, come. He settled them all in Istanbul, in Constantinople. Constantinople, 1453, 40 years before, it was open. And it was empty. There was nobody there. They needed business. They needed people. So they told the Jews, come guys, come to us. Settle in Constantinople. And Constantinople became what it is nowadays because of the Jews. And let's be clear about it. The Jews made Constantinople what it is nowadays, but because they were allowed to. Because the Muslim ruler understood, hey. And he said, quote, what kind of wise king and queens are these king and queens from Spain when they get rid of the most important asset in the empire? He was right. The Jews. You get rid of the Jews, are you crazy? So he got the Jews into the country. And if you go to Istanbul nowadays, to the bazaar, to the old the Kapalı Çarşı, when you go to the Kapalı Çarşı, you hear a lot of Sephardi. Sephardi is Spanish that the Jews spoke from Spain. They took it with them. For a linguist, it is a treasure. I did it upon me. I went to Kapalı Çarşı and I went to certain jewelry shops and I looked at the names. And you will see Spanish surnames. Why is it Spanish? Because it was Jews. Jews from Spain who came over. And they still speak their language. And they love it when you speak Spanish to them. You know? Unbelievable. We as linguists are fantastic, by the way. I've studied also linguistics. And it's Romance linguistics. So Spanish, the old Spanish that was spoken by Queen Isabella, is alive in Istanbul. That's a treasure. And to be clear again, we as Muslims do not have a problem with the Jews. We have a problem with Zionism. Zionism is a problem, and not the Jews. The Jews are brethren. The Jews are people who are actually part of, what we believe, monotheism. We always live together as Muslims with the Jews. Always. We supported and helped the Jews. During the Second World War, have you seen how many Muslims helped the Jews? Have you seen in Bosnia? I mean, really, how the media can change everything nowadays. And everybody believes that. Everybody believes that. As far as I know, Adolf Hitler was not a Muslim. Right? The Crusaders were not Muslims. Right? So, Bradley was not a Muslim, was he? So, now, Spain, okay, then we have quickly the empires, is not that important at the moment. Last but not least, quickly Italy, Sicily. Now there we go. Roma, okay, there we are. There's Rome. They tried to conquer Rome because there's a hadith, that said first Constantinople and then Rome, right? That the Muslims would conquer, would open first Constantinople, which they did in 1453, and then they would open Rome, meaning Rome of Italy. There's East Rome, which was Constantinople, and West Rome, okay? Now they never made it, they tried it several times, it never worked. And I was talking about Bari here, Brindisi here, somewhere here, Lucera, a little bit further up. All these places here in the south have an Islamic past. You know what happened in Italy, here, in Palermo, Sicily? All this was the island for 250 years, part of Islamic Empire. In Sicily, you will find a lot of reminders from that time. And the important thing is that when the Muslims had lost, became weak, they were exported to Lucera. There is a small town up here in the south of Italy, it's called Lucera. And there, they were given freedom to live and to practice their deen and to make mosques and everything. And there's nowadays a Gothic cathedral nowadays in the center of Lucera, which is built on top of a mosque that existed at that time. And this is not many people know that. So they got rid of the Muslims from Sicily and they put them somewhere there, and then later they got also rid of them there. It was impossible for the Christians to live Christian ruling. It was impossible for them to live together with the Muslims. And this is our history. That's human history. Impossible. As soon as they were ruling, as soon as the Christians were ruling, they had to get rid of the Jews and the Muslims. It seems like it's impossible. And it's not Christianity that does it, but it's the people who so-called practice Christianity. Because we all know Christianity actually should be a very tolerant religion. But there are many things that happen in the name of Christianity. Yes?
Why does Christianity always sports Jews against Muslims?
No, that's a new phenomenon. That was not always like this.
I was reading an article, there's quite a lot of insults in the Judaism, of course, their book of Zebur, as everybody knows, changed. There's a lot of insult to Isa, peace be on him.
Okay.
But they still...
Before World War II, before the Holocaust, everybody in Europe was talking about Christian Europe. Okay, a Christian tradition, Christian civilization. After the Holocaust, they started talking about Judeo-Christian tradition. My question to you is, what has to happen for them to realize that there's actually a Muslim, Jewish, Christian tradition? Question mark. And I want you to think about it. I'm not going to give you the answer. And it's not paranoia what I'm spreading in. I just want Muslims to realize what's happening around us. And let's be honest. Yesterday, three guys were killed in North America. North Carolina. Yep. I just got a quick message yesterday on Facebook. There are so many Islamophobic incidents after Paris. In Paris alone, more than 120 incidents in Paris alone documented. What about undocumented? What about every day, what we hear, what I hear? You know how many times I heard Bin Laden? I think nowadays my name is Bin Laden. Osama, imagine, yes. My God, yes. So, imagine. And it's very sad. And you know what? Europe went through this 60 years ago. 60 years ago, this happened to another minority. And now, it's happening again to another minority. What is happening? Don't we learn from history? Don't we learn? No, we don't. History repeats itself. But I'm hoping, and this is why I mainly do that, I'm hoping that this will be able to change this. Unfortunately, the people who are sitting here, I hope at least most of you, are the ones who have thought about it already before they came here. I want the EDL to sit here, at least the ones who can speak. I'm not talking about the Mujlabi guys. Mujlabi. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about some people who can talk. The upper guys, because they can talk. The high guys can talk. And I want them to sit here. And I want to have a debate with them. And I want to get it actually from their mind, from their understanding what they really believe, what they really think. You know? And unfortunately, or fortunately, okay, I mean, many of you sitting here believe already these things and know that, well, something is going wrong here. Something is going wrong. You know, it used to be also like this in this country. You know, black people used to be discriminated against, and we know the slave trade. 300 years of slave trade. Has anybody ever apologized? Have you ever heard any British, Dutch, German, French, any European was involved in there? We have to stop now. Any European was involved. Have you ever heard them apologizing to the black people here? But you know what? Nowadays we have black people with white people, you know, against themselves. Nowadays, you know, there is no racism anymore. You know, nowadays they can find themselves, you know, that's all right, you know. Joe and Jerry together against Muslim, Muhammad and Ahmed. Unfortunately, that's how things have changed.
Like a football match, I mean, between Europe against Islam. But I think, yeah, probably, yeah, you heard so many bad stuff, I mean, about the Muslims going around, but you would hear the same, I guess, if you're gay as well, if you're Jewish. I mean, if you're a minority, you will hear that.
Yes, but what is on at this moment? Is it what is around?
Yeah, of course, now it's on fire.
That's it. That's it. I'm not saying, of course, this will always exist. There are racists who hate white black people. Yes, there still are. Of course there is. There are people who have a problem with Jewish people. Of course there is. Everything is still there. But what has come up, what is the main thing? The main thing are the Muslims at this moment. You know, and that's why I said before, what happened to the Jews that time brought them in a position they're in nowadays, that as soon as you open your mouth, you say Jews, you're anti-Semitic? Are you anti-Semitic? Because you use the word Jew.
Yeah.
So because of that, maybe something has to happen to the Muslims also so that this one is recognized as well. Okay? I hope not. I hope I'm wrong because I have children, I'm living here, I'm European, I'm double European, we're Europeans. We should not accept this. We should not have to accept it, but unfortunately these things happen around us and we cannot hide.
Yeah, but it's a wider problem. I mean, it's not just, I mean...
It's a massive problem, yes.
No, no, not massive, but really wider. I mean, it's just not for Muslims. I guess it's for any minority or anything that is a bit...
That was always the case. Yes, that was always the case. But now it's the Muslims. It was always the case against minorities, yes.
Yeah.
But now it's the one and only minority. Now there are black people together with white people having a problem about it. Right? You can see that.
Yeah. Okay.
You will hear Islamophobic remarks also from black people nowadays.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so, you know, in a lesser extent, I mean, yes.
I have two questions. One, I don't understand, like, I've got some Muslim friends and they told me that Muslims do have a problem with Jews, and it's from way back.
You know, you want to know what Islam, I put it here because I need to make some space here. You want to know what Islam, then go to the sources, please. Do not look and listen to Muslims, okay? Do not look and listen to Muslims. Go to the sources. You want to know what Islam? Find out what Islam says, okay? And not what Muhammad and Ali and Ahmed said, okay? Because anybody has something to say. But if it's the truth, it's another issue. Now, we as Muslims, in the Quran, the Jews and the Christians are called Ahl al-Kitab. That means these are people of the book. The people of the book have a special position in Islam. They are to be respected, they are to be left alone, and history has shown this. Okay? So it doesn't matter Jewish or Christians, it doesn't make a difference there. They are Ahl al-Kitab, they are people of the book. Now, if a person, Arabs especially, have a problem, I know what you mean. I would walk on the street with an Arab friend of mine, there's a Jew coming, oh, Yahudi, Yahudi, Yahudi. Chill. You know, this has to do with what's happening in the Middle East now, with Israel. It has nothing to do. They're ignorant of their religion. Thank you. Bye. Ciao. So, you know, this ignorance. If somebody tells you there's a problem with the Jews, that's ignorance. No, there's no problem with the Jews. There's a problem with Zionism, which is
Why do you have a
political ideology in Israel. It's a political ideology. Zionism is a racist political ideology against Palestinians, against Arabs, against Muslims, against anybody, except, you know, certain specific people. It's an ideology which is a racist ideology.
Manufactured and funded.
Okay, and you would have to find out what it means. We don't have time, unfortunately. Okay, we will have to stop here now, unfortunately, because also I want you to spend some money. So I want you to take a look at my books. Okay, and we have to unfortunately stop here now. It was an absolute pleasure being here. It was absolutely great. I really hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Okay? Thank you.